What's the deal? We have an American success story, Mike Lindell, the inventor of MyPillow. Everyone in here drank a cup of this Elevate Smart Coffee. Come on down to Cantina Bella. There's tacos everywhere.
Tacos everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And let's see how we can help you grow your business.
If you have an idea that you want to bring to a national audience, reach out to us.
You'll be right there with any success that I have, and thank you for helping out.
I think these guys are onto something.
I think people realize that this is malicious, as you put it, political prosecution. They sent 29 FBI agents who completely surrounded the house. There were 17 vehicles in the front yard, including 2 armored vehicles. I live on a canal. There were 2 amphibious units, boats, that said FBI on the side.
There's some boats back here.
With frogmen, all with weapons. There were agents completely surrounding the house, and there were guns.
The neighbors must have loved it.
At every door. You know, they sent a smaller group to go get bin Laden.
How did CNN get to your house at 6 in the morning when your own lawyer wasn't informed?
CNN actually showed up 40 minutes prior to the FBI and camped out across the street 25 feet from the front door. They actually set up the tripod for their camera exactly 10 minutes before the FBI arrived, but before they'd arrived on the street. Now, the FBI closed off the street. They told the neighbors to stay in their home, but CNN was not removed. They were allowed to film the takedown of public enemy number 1, Roger Stone. CNN actually called my attorney. He learned that I had been arrested from a CNN reporter, not from the government. It's not incidental that the producer on the ground, a man named Josh Campbell, is a former special assistant to FBI Director James Comey.
So let me ask you this. Do you think, is it your allegation that CNN was tipped off by someone in Mueller's office?
There's no question about it, and I believe...
Do you have any evidence of this?
Well, they did send my lawyer a copy of my indictment, which was not the indictment released by the Justice Department on Pacer, but included metadata that shows it was created the day before. A leak of a search warrant is a crime.
Of course it is.
The leak of an imminent arrest is a crime. They were in touch with my attorneys. They knew who represented me. Obviously, if they'd contacted my attorney, I would have just turned myself in, which means I could have gone in dressed in a suit and tie and it would look a hell of a lot better in my mugshot. Yeah. But unfortunately, that was not the case. My lawyers ultimately showed up. My lawyers went into a conference call with the government. The government said that they would not object to my release on bond, a surety bond, which is essentially on my signature, which is, of course, the proof that I'm not really a flight risk. The purpose of this was to paint a picture of me for the American people as some kind of drug kingpin, some kind of desperado, and to make me look guilty before I've had a chance to get to trial. After I left, the FBI conducted a search of my home. They set up tents in the front yard and long tables. They literally tore through every square inch of the house. They looked behind every picture, under every rug. They did, to their credit, try to put it back the way they found it. My wife was not allowed to touch her phone, even though my children and my grandchildren heard about this on TV and they were calling to see if Grandma was all right. She was basically told to sit in the corner.
Roger, tell our audience again where they can go. I'm going to talk about it every week. I'm going to do all I can to make sure that your voice is heard, regardless of what the courts do to you to gag you.
StoneDefenseFund.com is the only authorized site, StoneDefenseFund.com. You can also go to WhoFramedRogerStone.com, take you to the same place. If you want to get one of your Roger Stone Did Nothing Wrong t-shirts, that you go to 1776.shop. And those funds also go to pay for my legal defense. You might want to ask, what's this going to cost? The answer is in excess of $2 million. That's what the lawyers project. I've already spent $500,000. Let's recognize that wiped me out. I own no real estate. I don't own this home. This is a rental. I own no stocks, no bonds. I had a small fund that had been generated from my book sales that was meant to pay for the college education of my grandchildren. I had to liquidate it to pay the lawyers. They have destroyed my income. I had a very healthy consulting business. where I gave advice to large corporations. I don't lobby. I'm not a lobbyist. I haven't been a lobbyist in 30 years or longer. But that's all been destroyed because every week you could read in the media that I was going to be arrested tomorrow for treason, which of course is not what I'm accused of. The point, of course, is that they try to break your spirit. They just want you to roll over like General Flynn did and plead guilty to some crime that you didn't commit because you're out of cash and you're out of fight and you're out of will.
Have you reached out to anyone about the possibility of a pardon?
I have not. I've been very circumspect and very forthright about this. I've never discussed a pardon for myself with the president or anyone who works for the president, nor have my attorneys. Now, in the early days of the first term, I wrote the president a long letter advocating a pardon for Marcus Garvey, the early civil rights leader from the 1920s, because I had been recommended by a minister in the District of Columbia, Reverend Randy Short, to read up on Marcus Garvey, who I didn't know much about. And the FBI railroaded this guy for one reason. He was rallying black people, and he was preaching self-reliance and education and free enterprise and bettering yourself. And that scared the daylights out of the white power establishment. So the FBI railroaded Marcus Garvey, who was a very great man. And therefore I wrote the president saying that he should issue a posthumous pardon to one of the great civil rights leaders of all time.
But other than a letter about Marcus Garvey, you've never spoken to anyone about a pardon?
That is correct. I have written op-eds advocating a pardon for Julian Assange, although it's very difficult for me to figure out what crime he committed. He published classified information? Really? Well, then you better arrest the New York Times and the Washington Post.
So you have never directly spoke to Julian Assange in your entire life?
That is correct.
Not electronically, not telephonically?
That I had no communication with Julian Assange.
None whatsoever. Do you want a pardon?
I don't think I'm going to need a pardon. I intend to be acquitted and vindicated. I haven't even thought about it. The president's been asked about it. He says he hasn't thought about it. I haven't asked for one. John, I intend to fight, but it's a question of whether I have the resources. I'm up against a multi-billion-dollar monolith, the federal taxpayers, because you're financing my prosecution. Every taxpayer in America is. If I can raise the money, I can win. People need to go to stonedefensefund.com because I'm like David up against Goliath, and I will fight, but I need the resources.